Greetings. In this video, I'm going to discuss the theme by George Friedrich Handel on page 89 of the Christopher Parkening Classical Guitar Method, Volume 1. I am struggling to speak my way through that one today. Alright, what I'd like to discuss is how to get a nice crisp melody when we have a lot of these open strings mixed in here. So I'll go ahead and play it for you without muting the open strings. If I just let my B's and my E's ring out through the first couple measures, this is what it sounds like. So, especially when we have that second measure, it can sound like B is the melody and E is a little accent off of it if I don't mute the B. But if I mute the B, whoops, and hang on to the G apparently. There it sounds like one's going to the next one, which we want that forward drive. It's this musical gesture that he's building. We want that as our melody, not right. If I let this guy ring, then it can sound like that's just a little embellishment over the top, you know, maybe filling in a beat while the melody note rings out. We don't want that. This melody just kind of keeps driving on through. So we need to mute that B, and there's a couple of different options. One option is just fret the B. If I do my pinky on the 4th fret of the 3rd string, then as I relax the hand, I'm going to go ahead and mute that B anyways. Another option is to do a rest stroke, which is also advantageous because that E string tends to get a different tone than that B string, and so it can kind of help to fill out that sound, but you have to be careful not to be too loud, you know. Although that is a place where melody jumps up, and it's not the end of the world if it has a little bit of a decibel spike. So there's two options: a rest stroke, fretting it, or being very, very intentional to use a right hand finger to mute it while I play it. Here's what that would look like. I'm going to play the first part, the G sharp and the B. Now I'm going to place 3 fingers, my thumb on the 6th string, my middle finger is going onto the 2nd string, and my ring finger is going onto the 1st string. Okay, so 3 fingers come down. Now 2 strings are going to get muted, right? My B string is getting muted and my E string is getting muted, and my E string is anticipated and my other E string is anticipated. So what that means is this 2 strings that we're ringing out get muted, and I'm also preparing to pick the other 2 strings. So it's kind of this weird shift that goes on where I play these 2, I put 3 fingers down, and then I'm going to relax my middle finger, or I'm going to lock them onto the string and pick around them. So that's when I play something fast and I need to do something like that. It depends. It's one of those things that takes the extra effort to train it into your fingers. But you do this enough times, you learn it really quickly. This is how I chose to play it in the recording, is I went ahead and just planted that middle finger on the B string, and I just pick around him, if that makes sense. My ring finger and my thumb pick while my middle finger is just sitting on that B. Do it a time or two, nice and slow, where you separate every step, and it'll start to really click. I'm going to show you a step-by-step how I would break this down and practice it if I was initially learning a fingering like this. So I'm going to pick, place 3 fingers, release my left hand, pick the outer strings. Okay, so four steps. I'm going to separate everything else out. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start where we're starting. Pick, place, release, pick. Okay, and then when that's easy, you're going to fold 2 of those movements into one space. So I'm going to go pick, place, and release the left hand finger simultaneously. Pick, place, release. If I release before that finger comes down, I can get a little noise, but this is all happening so fast that it's not really going to be a factor. But this is something we learned called planting, where we place the right hand fingers, then move the left hand fingers, and we get less noise coming off the guitar. So anyways, we're folding those steps 2 and 3 into one. So we've got pick, place 3 and release the left hand finger, all in one step, and then pick the outer strings, but leaving my middle finger on there. That's one way of doing it. And then you do that enough times, you can do it really quickly. You can do it while you're playing the music. So this is really getting into the detail stuff, but this is how professional guitarists get a very, very crisp sound. Or what we can do, pick, and then when I place these 3 fingers, I kind of imagine that string is just made of lava, and I just touch it. I just touch it with my middle finger, let it pop off immediately, or really relax it off. So I place, relax off the middle finger, and then I can pick the other 2. So those are a couple ways that you can mute that B string. I would encourage you to really take it slow, break down these steps and do them at a pace where you do it perfectly, and keep the steps separate. Okay, don't morph them into one step until you can actually do one, briefly pause. Do the next one, briefly pause. Do the next one, briefly pause. If you kind of jam it all into one movement, your brain learns it as one complex movement rather than teaching it to do the individual skills that are involved in this. If you can get your brain to master muting strings and then prepping different picking situations and picking certain strings while keeping a finger anchored on the string, you keep all of those separate, well then your brain can apply those to all these different situations. But if you just learn one weird fingering, then it's harder for your brain to pick up the next weird fingering. It's not as easy for your brain to pick up the next weird fingering and the next weird fingering because it hasn't parsed the different skills. Our brain learns very efficiently when we can separate out different parts of a complex process. But when you have to do 2 or 3 complicated things all at once, your brain kind of mashes them into one thing. And then when you need just 2 of those things, or you need to put them in a different context, it can really struggle with that. So I encourage you, this is a learning efficiency thing. And if you can really have the self-discipline to separate your steps as you learn tricky passages, it will pay off in the long run. I know the temptation is I want to play this fast and smooth right now, but force yourself to be patient and it'll pay off. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.